Here we go. So, this is a gothic story. I don't even know if gothic is a thing anymore, but I guess it would be horror now. It's a story I wrote when I was 15 years old. I was a child of Edgar Allan Poe. You couldn't tell me anything. So, I was 15. Let's see what my writing was like 11 years ago. The Academy, Part 1. A dark kind of day, a bright kind of night. Chapter 1. Enter the rabbit class. Enter all the 14-year-olds and occasional 15-year-olds to the Rainbow Bunny Academy, where all the bright and happy faces radiate with laughter and warmth, and the voices of innocence fill the air, the same air breathed in by those of another kind of existence, ... those of another kind of ... lifestyle. These children will soon know that same lifestyle, but of course, they have a choice. There are 2 lifestyles to choose from. And from the very moment of the choosing, their lives, their fates are set. The choice is to either join the Sunshine Cluster or the Happy Silver Cluster. In parentheses, naturally the children chose with their friends. And thus, after choosing, the children were separated and directed into split quarters of the Gothic castle-style building. I couldn't just describe the building, I had to write the Gothic castle-style building. It was large, almost too large for the wide young eyes to absorb, consisting of 4 classes. The first class, what humans would normally call the freshman class. The first class, what humans normally call the freshman class, is the rabbit class. The second year, sophomore year, is the rainbow fairy class. The third year, junior year, is the pentacle class. And the last, but definitely not least, there is the ever elite and admirable 4th year, senior year class called the Arcana class. I feel like I have to explain about these ridiculous names. So when I was 15, I was still wearing all black or whatever. I wasn't like this at all. But I thought it would be funny and cute and misleading if I use these ridiculous ass, overly sugary names. I thought I could trick my readers. I wasn't tricking anybody. I was just being pretentious. Back to the story. In 2 single file lines, the children lined up, eager and bouncing, as if under a spell, to be let into the rooms. There was the look of promise, the look of faith and hope. They were so excited and oblivious that none of them stopped to wonder why there were only new freshmen and why their older siblings weren't allowed to enter as well. But of course, everyone knows how children can be. And for the sake of entertainment, let us focus on a handful of interesting and peculiar students in both clusters in the rabbit class. We shall worry about the next classes later. Firstly, enter Lenore, Sarah, and Brian, who decided to enter the Happy Silver Cluster. Next we have Yamato, David, and Emily, who decided to enter the Sunshine Cluster. From now on, they shall be a part of our main focus, and with that being said, an introduction is now in order, starting with the Sunshine Cluster. And curiously enough, the feeling of eager happiness and blind excitement began to fade as soon as their toes broke through the invisible barrier that was an open doorway. Dear Emily walked so gracefully that she almost floated to her seat in the very back corner of the room. She is a very soft-spoken artist with blue eyes and brown hair so dark that it almost looks black, and it's long and wavy, but also a tad thin. Her frame is very tiny though. She is so very short and skinny that she can almost hide within the waves of her hair. However, she kept her wavy locks in a loose ponytail that she flung over her shoulder, and she always topped it off with a navy blue beret, just a few shades darker than her eyes. Once she found her seat, she immediately began sketching in her drawing journal, deeply focused, so much so that she almost forgot where she was. The guy who sat next to her was Yamato. Yes, a random Japanese character who only goes by his last name, even though this technically takes place in the US. Just... So yeah, Yamato only goes by his last name because I was a fucking weeb, okay? So the guy who sat next to her was Yamato, an adventurous and scheming young lad, who, by the way, chooses to go by his last name. But he was also very charming, and he knows how to use it. His light brown eyes were always twinkling with some amazing plot. And one could easily tell when he has an inventive idea in his eyes, when they become extra bright. Now, they don't really become lighter, but they do seem to have more of a twinkle in them. His long jet black hair created a beautiful contrast to his light skin, growing just a bit past his shoulders for the show of the rebel attitude in his dazzling heart. The heart that beats behind a so easily underestimated average body build. He turned to the girl and smiled dazzlingly. "Hey, Emily." His voice was smooth and velvety. "I'm glad we came to the same school. Another glorious school experience for the both of us, huh?" Emily jumped at the sound of his voice as if someone had poked her, and turned robotically to face Yamato, her countenance emotionless. Then she smiled slightly and spoke in her signature soft voice. "It's nice to see you again, but you know, ... I hope I'm not the only one who thinks that this school has weird names, ... I know, right?" Yamato grinned and nodded, his healthy head of hair dancing about his handsome face. "Rainbow bunny? Rabbits and fairies? What kind of school is this?" Emily laughed so quietly and choppily that it almost seemed as if she were trying to suppress a cough. "Yes, well, ... She took a good look around. "This place doesn't exactly look like sunshine and rainbows like the names say." "Yeah, it's ... gloomy ... Yamato added quietly, the playfulness, along with some color, draining from his face. "And now that I think of it, it kinda gives me the creeps, you know?" Emily nodded and went back to her sketch. She spoke without looking up again. "Well, we'll have to get used to it. Personally, I like it." "Well, ... Yeah, I guess it's not so bad." Yamato shrugged, the charming smile returning to his pouty pink lips. "I can stand it. In fact, I think I might come to like this creepy place." "Yes, ... Emily added a few finishing touches to perfect her piece of art, turned her head sideways, frowned, erased, and made a second attempt. Then she continued, "It's not all that creepy." "It's creepy for my tastes," Yamato replied matter-of-factly. So wait a minute, Yamato literally just went from saying, "This place is creepy," to, "Oh, I think this place is kinda nice," to, "It's creepy for my tastes." Because fuck consistency, I guess. It was then that a tall fellow took a seat next to Yamato. This fellow was David, a nerdy-looking boy with black-rimmed glasses and a laptop permanently attached to any part of his body at any given time. Behind the lenses of the glasses were green eyes, which were, by his standards, seriously monitor screen deprived. And it was for this reason that he opened his beloved laptop screen as soon as he sat down and logged on before he was completely settled in. He scratched his 2-inch long dark red hair and began typing as if he were born with a keyboard attached to his fingers. In parentheses, "Oh, his poor mother." Yamato caught a glimpse of David from the corner of his eye and turned to him, seeing no reason to be cold to strangers. He began, "Hey." David glanced up at Yamato quickly, then glued his eyes back to the screen. "Hey yourself." "So, ... Yamato licked his lips, trying to start conversation. Why is Yamato like this? Why did I write him like this? "So, ... Yamato licked his lips, trying to start conversation. "I'm Yamato. Your name?" David raised an eyebrow. "Yamato? Isn't that a surname?" "Yeah, and it's what I prefer." "Oh," David shrugged dismissively, never once looking up from the screen. "Well, I'm David." Yamato then smiled cleverly and turned to Emily. "Don't be rude now. Introduce yourself to our new friend." Emily sighed and set down her sketchbook before turning and leaning a little to see David. She introduced, "I'm Emily. Nice to meet you." Not she said, she introduced. "Hi, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you." "Yep," David nodded at his laptop. I don't see why I have to go to this stupid school anyway." Yamato laughed a godly laugh. "Yeah, well, we were just talking about the stupid names." This is too meta for me, guys. This is too meta. "We were just talking about the stupid names." David turned to Yamato and gave a crooked smile. "Really? But yeah, I agree that the names are stupid or whatever. Who the hell chose them anyway?" Yamato shrugged. "How am I to know?" "You weren't supposed to answer that, Yamato." Emily spoke smugly. "I know that, Emily." The word "no," by the way, is in all caps. "I know that, Emily," Yamato scoffed. "You know I hate when you point out the obvious like that." "Well, if you were a bit smarter, I wouldn't have to." Yamato glared at her. "Oh, you're such a great friend." "Why, thank you." David watched the two bicker. "What, are you two married or something?" Emily blushed. Yamato shook his head. "Nah." Yamato is a savage. What the... Yamato shook his head. "Nah." "She your girlfriend?" Emily blushed more. Yamato replied, "No, man. You know you ask a lot of questions." But Yamato, you were the one who just started talking to this laptop guy out of nowhere. Like, David says nothing, does nothing. Yamato, hey man. Like, and then he's like, hey, you know what? You ask a lot of questions. You know what, Yamato? You just make no sense. You make no sense. You know, you ask a lot of questions. Sorry about that, David shrugged dismissively again and returned to his laptop screen. So I take it you've known each other a while. Yes, we have, Emily nearly whispered before Yamato could answer. That's when class began. Meanwhile, in the Happy Silver cluster, a fair-skinned girl with an average build, blue eyes, and medium-length, full, wavy, dirty blonde hair, walked with a spring in her step next to a tall and statuesque girl of copper skin, dark brown eyes, and extremely long, thick black hair worn straight down and tucked neatly behind her ears. Oh my god, the sentence is not done yet. An extremely long, thick black hair worn straight and down. I messed up the first time. Her hair is worn straight and down, tucked neatly behind her ears. In parentheses, there was a big white azalea behind one ear. The blonde, whose hair bounced against her shoulders and neck, was Lenore, child of Edgar Allan Poe. So anyway, that's Lenore. And her friend, whose dramatic raven hair bounced below her waist, was Sarah. They sat next to each other in the classroom, giggling about some previous inside joke. Lenore's giggle was much more jubilant than Sarah's, who was busy fixing the azalea in her hair because she felt as if it were beginning to fall out. Lenore is the bold one, always speaking her mind and backing up everything she says, no matter what, whether or not is based on logic. Or according to her, whether or not is based on the logic in her head or the logic in the world around her. She not only has a bit of a temper, but is also very creative and scheming, often adding to her bold personality. This is what they mean by show, don't tell. All of this is telling. Don't do this. This is wrong. Sarah isn't as bold, but she has her share of bold moments. She is very passionate about the environment and will do anything to protect the natural beauty of the world around her. She is truly a spirited nature lover and die-hard environmentalist. Because 15-year-old Jasmine wrote stereotypes all the time. Hey, Sarah, Lenore grinned and poked Sarah, causing her to mess up while trying to fix her flower. Are you listening? She pouted and hardened her eyes, showing that she wasn't too pleased. I assume that Sarah is the one that's not too pleased. Sarah bit her lip and nodded. Lenore's mood suddenly changed, and her dark, cloudy face transformed into that of a curious, gossip-loving child. She continued, You're thinking about that one guy, aren't you? What guy? Sarah pretended to play dumb, but she was never really good at lying. You know that guy. What's his name? Brian, right? Sarah sighed. Yes, his name is Brian. Oh, my little Sarah has a crush already. I just met him. Sarah pulled her eyebrow muscles close together. The first day of school hasn't even officially started. Pfft! And that means what? Lenore laughed. Honestly. Well, I mean, ... Oh, there he is. Sarah stiffened and immediately turned the other way. Lenore turned her face toward the doorway as if her life depended on seeing the boy that her best friend was already crushing on. A devious smile spread across her face, stretching her luscious lips. That's a him, isn't it, Sarah? She nodded toward a rather good-looking boy with average build. What does it mean in guys with like average builds? Like what was that? What did that even mean? A rather good-looking boy with average build and spiky light blonde hair. His eyes were green and serious, like the rest of his face. His eyes were green and serious, like the rest of his face, guys. His body was serious. Everything about him was starched and ironed. Lenore thought that a smile upon his face would cause some sort of creaking noise, and the idea made her giggle more. He's what Lenore would call one of those guys with a stick up somewhere uncomfortable, and indeed he was. Brian is a very realistic boy, a mathematical whiz, very logical and practical. Lenore nudged Sarah. That's him, right? Yes, that's him, Sarah frowned, mortified. And why are you so loud? He's cute, I'll give him that. Lenore looked him up and down. But he's not really your type, I can tell. You can do better, Sarah. She glanced at her friend. Much better. Much is in all caps. Sarah pouted. Don't crush my dreams, Lenore. Lenore watched Brian sit down on the other end of the room, walking by without so much as a passing glance, carefully planning something in that blonde head of hers. She flipped her hair and turned back to Sarah, smiling. You should go sit with him. What, are you nuts? Sarah squealed. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And ... You just said he's not my type, so there. Excuses. Lenore rolled her eyes playfully. Forget what I say, woman, and do as I say. Wow, I thought I was really clever when I wrote that. Forget what I say, woman, and do as I say. That makes no sense, Sarah spazzed. Well, it does to me, and that's all that matters, Lenore giggled. Now go, before I drag you there. And I've pretty sure you don't want me to drag you there. Now do you, Sarah? Lenore, ... Do you? No, ... Then go. Lenore perked up with the biggest grin on her face. And if you want, I'll even go with you to regulate if things go awry. Lenore, ... Now, Lenore stood up and stretched. Let's make a haste, shall we? Well, ... Fine. Sarah pouted and stood up as well, but I won't like it. Hey, you might. Lenore shrugged and took Sarah's stiff, unwilling hand. Come on, stop being so scared, will ya? Let's get our seats next to him before the class fills up. Right, ... Sarah did an awful job at faking the spirit. Let's, start this freshman year off with the bang. Oh, my dear child, we're not freshmen. We're rabbits. Rabbits in all caps. We're rabbits, Lenore joked. Walking across the room to Brian, who only gave them slight side glances when they sat down. Sarah sat next to him, and Lenore sat next to Sarah, 2 seats away from Brian. He took another glance at Sarah and spoke with an overly bored air about him. Didn't I see you this morning? Yeah, ... I'm Sarah, ... Oh, that's right. Brian yawned and shifted his eyes away from her, staring straight ahead at the board. So, ... what brought you to this school? Oh, no, sorry, that's Sarah talking. So, ... what brought you to this school? Sarah asked innocently. Well, Brian began with a careless sigh. Obviously, my parents dragged me here or whatever. Stupid, boring school, ... So bloody quick to throw me away. They could have at least sent me to a school with a better name. So bloody quick? Like, is Brian from the UK? Or, like, if so, why is nobody talking about his accent? Because his accent would be different, and that's something they would be talking about, right? Sarah's eyes widened slightly, speechless. Brian glanced at her again and continued, Oh, sorry about that. It just makes no damn sense. I don't know who's talking anymore. What doesn't? Any of this. He frowned and gazed out the window. And to think I'm stuck here for 4 years. ... I've never heard of such a boarding school. ... What are you talking about? Lenore decided to chime in, ignoring a glare from Sarah. Brian turned to her. What do you mean, what am I talking about? Didn't you get the memo? We're here to be completely separated from our friends and families outside the world. From our friends and families in the outside world. Doesn't that seem strange to you? Lenore and Sarah blinked. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but Lenore spoke first. That's stupid. They can't do that. Well, they are. Brian averted his sad eyes. Sorry about that. I ran out of memory. Sarah thought of something quick to say before Lenore could, regretting that she even considered bringing Lenore along. Maybe you read something wrong. Yeah, maybe you read something wrong, Lenore copied, causing her to receive yet another soul-piercing glare from Sarah. Wait, why? She's agreeing with Sarah. Like, why? Anyway, who spoke harshly and angrily through her teeth. I keep thinking I have to sneeze. Thank you for the comment, Lenore. No worries there, Lenore smiled brightly and beautifully. In parentheses. And as usual, Sarah couldn't tell if Lenore was really oblivious or if she was purposefully ignoring the annoyance in Sarah's tone. I keep thinking I have to sneeze. Anyway, Sarah, obviously Lenore is being sarcastic. Lenore looked to Brian and continued, Anyway, I'm Lenore. Looks like we're going to be friends, huh? Brian gave her a weird look and glanced away, staring at the surface of his desk. Yeah, ... Sure, There it is. Yeah, ... Sure. So yeah, that was chapter 1. Half this bottle is gone. If you want me to do this again, just let me know. And yeah, the end of chapter 1 is obviously a good place to stop. Yeah. So yeah, I have a Ko-fi, a Patreon, and stuff there in the description. If you want me to do this again, let me know. I can do chapter 2 and finish off this bottle, because I don't drink much anyway. Yeah, other than that, let me know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the first manuscript that you wrote. This is the first manuscript that I wrote. I finished it. I wrote it for Nano. And so yeah. Bye.